Good evening, women of now faith. Good evening, daily manna. This is your daily manna for today. Today is April 7th, 2018. And I just come before you just to speak to you about the love of the Father. And how much he loves and cares for us and gives us unconditional love. I come from a family where my grandmother raised me. My grandmother, my aunts, and my uncles raised me. My mom went to the military. My biological father was not there. And, but again, thanks be unto God that God placed someone in my life to be a father figure. But even so, I really did not understand why I made a lot of the decisions that I made. Being a mother at 14 years old, not understanding what I was looking for in young men, not understanding that I had rejection set up in me from the time I was in my mother's womb, not by my mom at that point, maybe not, but I know by my father. So I had to figure out what was going on with me, why I would make the decisions and the choices that I would make. Why did I feel like I was worthless at certain times? Why did I feel like I had to have a boyfriend? I had to have someone there with me all the time. And not to say that, I don't want to be remarried again. But I just wanted to be God's best. I wanted to be in God's timing. I wanted to be God ordained. I wanted to do it right this way, this time. So, reading the word, you stumble across verses that kind of jump off the page at you. Again, my mom went to the military, and my biological father was never in my life. Not that I don't know who he is at this point, but he was never really active in my life. And one of my favorite verses I came across was Psalms 27, verse 10. And it reads, when my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. That is my most favorite verse. And then I ran across a lot more scriptures saying that God is a father to the fatherless, and how he, don't play about those that are widows, that are poor, and that do not have their fathers, who are fatherless. He's a defender for us. Those were other verses that just caught my heart and caught my mind and began to break those spirits of rejection off of me. And I was able to see God in a different light, because now it's like, okay, me and God have something in common. Me and God have something that that we can grow with. I don't have a father. Then I began to look at it like this. This may be funny, right? But like, not having that biological father there, I look at it like God has nothing else to contend with when it comes down to fatherhood in my life. Now God has replaced and gave me 100-fold of what I don't have, especially him being in my life, him being father first and number one. Then he planted my father, who I call my father, who was pretty much, the man that's been in my life all of my life. But our relationship didn't get stronger until I was an adult. So now, we have this great relationship. It's awesome. We have a good time together. He's funny, he's hilarious, and he pours into me as a father at this point. And then I have spiritual fathers that lead me, they also pour into me, and they lead me in the right direction toward Christ. They speak blessings over me, so it's amazing to have this type of person in your life. One spiritual father and one father that God just planted there. Those are two. So I have two that are there at this point right now. And that's what I mean. So it's like double for my trouble, right? And that's triple, because I got God the Father. Ultimately, I can always go to him and allow him to love on me and pour out into me. And one thing I think that we miss as women is the affirmation of a man, the affirmation of a father. And sometimes we as women, we could even have a father in the home but still be fatherless, because they can be there but they're not there in spirit. They're there, they're there physically, but they're not there for you mentally. They're not there, and they can also be. It could also be to the point where they're just there as the disciplinarian. They're not there as, as pouring in love, as pouring in understanding, and being that person that is going to cultivate you and pour into you. But they're always there if you do something wrong. That also torments and builds bad relationship values for a woman when she gets older and ready to date and ready to be set before the mate, because ultimately it will make her go out and look for what she's desiring. We are all set up a certain type of way. God created us a certain type of way. We are receivers. Men are ultimately givers, and that's just not in the sexual sense. It's in the physical as well. It's in the spiritual as well. We receive. What does the Bible say? Husbands, love your wives. We are to be submissive. And guess what? We are already nurturers by nature. We already do that. So a lot of times you will hear where they say, when the wife is happy, the husband is ultimately happy, because we'll begin to, pour more into our husband. But even with this relationship walk with God, I'm learning how marriage is supposed to be set up. It's not about what you can do, what the person can do for you. It's about what you can give. How are you an asset to your relationship? It ultimately also lets us as women know what it is to be loved. When we find, or that person find us as a woman, we'll begin to recognize the real, true, unconditional love, the consistency of the man. Because when we have been out in the world already and we've been conditioned to the ways of the world, sometimes we will put ourselves out there to make it look like we are pursuing the man rather than the man pursuing us. So we'll get into a place where we're calling the man, we're cooking for the man, we're doing so many things for the man, but we're giving them and even being intimate, we're giving this man all of our wifely duties. But then we're lost. We don't have anything. They're not giving anything back. They're not giving anything back. So that will ultimately too cause a woman to shut down and say, you know what, I won't give them that even if they try to marry me. So this can ultimately cause a lot of problems for a woman who is a nurturer by nature. And this is why the man in the home, the husbandman in the Bible is called a cultivator. He cultivates his garden. He cultivates the daughter. He cultivates the kid. He cultivates the wife. That's his garden that he cultivates. That's his garden. And one thing about a gardener, a good gardener, when you have nurtured your plants and everything else, you don't just want anybody walking around and trampling on your garden. You don't. You fence it in, you protect it, you do whatever you can to make sure that your garden stays beautiful. So back in the biblical days, as the man will cultivate his children, his daughters, his wife, the husband that was to come and take on the wife, he had to have permission from the father, because the father is like, I've already been training this child, this woman of God. I'm going to say that. This woman of God, I've already been training her, and whoever is going to come into her life ultimately also needs to be a cultivator. Ultimately also needs to be the husbandman in the relationship. Needs to be the one that can pour and cultivate his wife, cultivate his garden. So if the father saw these qualities and knew that these qualities and the family value was there, then the young lady was presented to that family as that guy's wife. Same thing with God. When we as single women and we get our time alone with God, we get into a place where it's just us and God. He begins to cultivate us. He begins to teach us. He begins to train us. What does it look like to really, really, really be loved by a father? What does it look like to really be loved correctly by the father? Yes, they're going to come with rebukes. He's going to be quiet sometimes. He's going to train you something. He's going to tell you something, and you're just going to have to do it. It's about learning obedience. It's about learning who he is as father. It's about even being taught and trained how to be the woman of God that he has trained you to be. Now, after he's done all of this training in you, he is not going to send you a man that he has not been cultivating himself. He's not going to do that. And that's why it's important that we wait on God's best. Our worth only comes when we begin to sit with the Father and find out our worth, find out who we are in Christ, find out the love that he has, and allow him to pour that love into us. So ultimately, if he sees that the enemy, because ultimately it would be the enemy sending somebody that you like, that's because the enemy has studied you as well. So the enemy is going to send you something that you're attracted to, something that you like, to kind of distract you and take you off course. So he's going to send that one thing to you to try to knock you off of your square, knock you off of the course of God cultivating you and training you and teaching you to be the person that he wants you to be, and the wife that he wants you to be. Okay, so it's once we've been in the presence of God and he's cultivated us, we will ultimately be able to recognize that's what it is, the counterfeit, what the counterfeit looks like, what the one that God did not call to us look like. And we'll be able to go to the Father and say, is that the one? And he will ultimately say yes. One thing about it, God is not slack with giving you an answer. All of our lives, we have been slack to looking at the red flags, not being honest about the red flags that we see, and overlooking the red flags when God will put them out there. But being in tune with God is not, and we can give some people mercy because you'll know the difference. But the true red flags are going to raise antennas. The true red flags are going to show you that, you know what, this is not God. This is not God. Red flags, this is not God. It's going to raise antennas. You will see that this person was not sent by God. It could be something as little as if you are trying to wait until your wedding day to kiss. It could be something as little as someone saying, come on, you could just give me a little bit of sugar, you could give me a kiss. It could be someone saying something so subtle, even sexual, always talking about sex in the beginning. Yes, that's something that needs to be talked about within the relationship, granted, but not in the so close to the beginning, but while you're cultivating friendship first. Again, your Boaz, if you want to call him your Boaz, is going to show himself approved. If you are waiting to have sex, majority 9 times out of 10, rather than you having to coerce him to hold himself until marriage, he's already going to be on board with holding himself until marriage. Why? Because the same Father that has cultivated you have been cultivating this same young man, have been cultivating this same person to be like, you know what, we're going to wait. And ultimately the man leads. He leads. So even if you are a little off course and you've been under God, you've been under his jurisdiction, he's been training you, he's been teaching you, and maybe we as women, we fall too. We may come on to a man, right? We come on to a man, they'll shut us down and say, you know what, no, baby girl, that ain't what I'm here for. I'm here to wife you. I'm not here to be a fly-by-night. I'm not here to be a friend with benefit. I'm here to be, my desire for you is more than just to lay down with you. Let me get to know you. Let's find out where we're going with this and find out if this is where the Father will have us. I don't want to taint you. I don't want to be tainted myself. We have somewhere to go. We have some things to do. So one thing about your relationships, they have purpose. Your friendship has purpose. Your relationships have purpose. If they are not purposeful, then they are counterfeit, and they are sent by the fires of hell to hold you back, to keep you bound. So always look at the purpose in the relationship. Is it bringing you closer to God? Is it taking you further away from God? What is this relationship cultivating in you? So we as women, and as men as well, because men have spirits of rejection as well. So we all need to get into this place where we sit with the Father and we begin to meditate these verses about his fatherhood, about who he is as Father, the fact that he'll never leave us and never forsake us. Though other people have forsaken us and have walked away from us, he would never do that. These are our promises. He says, you are the apple of my eye. I contend with those that contend with you. So these are things that we have to begin to see and read in the word of God. And ultimately, what did David say? Meditate upon the word day and night. Meditate on it day and night. Keep these words written upon your heart so that when that spirit come of rejection, because these are strongholds. These are strongholds that come in to try to torment you so that you can't have God's best, so that you can't have what God has created for you, so that you can't have greater works in your life. The enemy has brought these things to be a lie, a stronghold, a path of a lying, deceptive spirit that would keep you bound from moving into the purposes of God. Because if you feel rejected, you will never be able to step out into the things that God has for you. You know why? Because this walk is not easy. People are not going to be happy about what you're doing. Family members are going to tell you to go sit down somewhere, but you need to be doing what God has called you to do. Friends are going to look at you funny, look at you different. And if you're dealing with the spirit of rejection, because they are rejecting you, you will fall back into your old habits. You will begin to do exactly what you used to do because you want to be accepted rather than being accepted by the Father. Your first acceptance is to be accepted by the Father. And then once he remove everything that is unlike him, because one thing that this walk does, it will remove those that do not belong in your life. It will remove those that do not belong in your purpose. So once that happens, he will ultimately begin to bring the right people into your life that will begin to cultivate you, that will begin to speak life over you. Because why? Because you have gone through a season that you were, things were purging away from you, and the purging does not feel good. That is a tearing away. People walking away from you, or you walking away from certain circumstances and people, that is a tearing away, and it does not feel good. But this is part of the spirit of rejection being pulled off of you, because he's giving you a sense of understanding, like, everybody who you've been around are not going to accept you and receive you because you belong to me. Like he said, they rejected him, so why the world hated him, so why would they love us? Why would they love us so much? If they hated him so much, and we are his kids, we are like him, made in his image, made in his likeness, and we are cultivated day in day more and more to look more and more like him, why would they like us? Why would they care anything for us? Know your worth. Know your worth. And we only know our worth when we break that spirit of rejection off of us by sitting before the Father, sitting at his feet, allowing him to pour into us who we are, studying his word, meditating on these verses day and night. I meditate this verse, Psalms 27 verse 10. Will my mother and father forsake me, then the Lord take me up. What does meditate mean? Thinking on this word, saying this word out loud, saying this word over and over in your mind. You are cultivated by these things, even with the spirit of fear, because the spirit of fear is attached to the spirit of rejection. Because if you feel rejected, ultimately you will feel like the Father won't protect you, like he won't take care of you, like he won't be just to his word. So you have all of these fears that are connected to the spirit of rejection. So if you begin to meditate on these verses, and what that does is change your mindset, so that the enemy, because the battlefield it always starts in the mind. So when you begin to meditate these words, that spirit begins to break, and it no longer will have that stronghold on you. So when these feelings and these lies and these deceptive words come to stop you or torment you, you can break it, you can stop it, you can ultimately cause it to shut down, and now you have victory over rejection, and you have victory over fear, and you have victory over the lies of the enemy. And not to say these lies won't stop just because you've come over the spirit of rejection, just because you begin to fight the spirit of rejection, just because it was cast out of you. does not mean that the enemy will stop trying. But now that you know how to shut the door on the enemy, he can't get back in. He has no more access to you. So when that thought comes, maybe God won't do it, or maybe God won't send a husband, or maybe or am I worthy, or does anyone love me? Guess what? You can shut those feelings down with the word of God and say, I am my Father's favorite. I am loved by God. I am his child. I am the apple of his eye. He contend with those that contend with me. For greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Though my mother and father forsake me, the Lord receives me. He comes and he covers me, and he sings over me. He gives me grace and mercy every day I wake up. He never leaves and never forsake me. It's his promise. These are things that when the enemy comes in, you begin to speak life, and you cast down every imagination, every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and you begin to look more and more like him, and you begin to know your worth. And then no devil in hell can come and take anything from you. No devil in hell can come and stop you. The enemy can't even send a counterfeit to stop you. The enemy can't even send someone to knock you off course. Because why? Because even in your season of killing this rejection, killing this spirit rejection off of you, he will give you a purpose. And you know what? You'll get to the point where that purpose shines so bright in you, and you don't want nothing but that purpose, and the devil can't come in and touch your purpose. Nobody can come in and touch your purpose. Anybody that come in and look like they want to stop your shine, you kicking them out. This is what the purpose does for you. Without vision, people perish, right? So, and when you're cultivating this spirit to seek God, he is going to ultimately give you vision of your future. And that's what you want. Vision for your future. That's another thing that rejection break off of you. I have been speaking for a little while. We're 20 minutes in, and I'm about to take my kids out for the evening. I want you all to have a blessed Saturday. Continue on the course. Don't let anything stop you. Allow the word of the Lord to work in your life. Continue to read your word. Stay in your word. Cultivate your relationship with your Father, because you have a great Father. You have an awesome Father, and he lives in you. He's in you, and he's ready and willing to take care of every issue that you have ever had. Don't despise the day of small beginnings, because it's going to grow. Things are going to grow. Your relationship with God is going to grow. Your feelings for him are going to grow. Everything is going to fall into place. Just do not get weary in your well-doing. So I'll talk to you all later. Love you.